Hello, my name is Aaron Moore with ABCDL Training, and the purpose of this video is hopefully to give you some helpful tips in passing your CDL exam for the state of Maryland and in a school bus. Hopefully this video will give you the information, provide you with the information needed to help you pass your CDL exam. Just a couple of little tips to hopefully put you on the right track of passing the exam. Just first of all, know your vehicle and know where to go next. When you're doing a vehicle inspection, it's important that you know when you leave one item, you inspect one item, you already know where you're going to the next item before you even get there. That way you spend a lot less time wondering or thinking or using and being unsure. Just know when you leave one item, the next item that you're automatically going to. Just remember, they don't need a whole lot of information. Just name the part, small detail, and move on. These instructors are not going to know half as much about this vehicle as you do, but they're programmed to listen and they go by a checklist. So hopefully at the end of this video, it'll have some helpful tips in terms of how to pass the pre-trip exam in the state of Maryland in a school bus. So stay tuned to for the video. Hope it works out for you. Hope it's insightful information, and hopefully you could pass your CDL exam and welcome yourself to the transportation industry. Thanks for watching and have a great day. That I do it is that, first of all, I want to talk through everything. I'm not necessarily going to get any credit for everything that I say, but I want to give the instructor the impression that I know what I'm talking about. So, you start the pre-trip inspection off by doing the air brake test. Failure to do the air brake test is an automatic failure. That's the only thing that could fail you right away. That's the only thing you don't get a second chance in doing. Everything else is either points accumulated or points deducted. So we have to get through the air brake test before we can move to the next portion of the exam. All right, before I start the air brake test, I'm gonna talk my way through it. I'm gonna tell the instructor, I'm gonna sit in the seat, I'm gonna put my seat belt on, I'm gonna make sure the seat belt is tight and secure, properly mounted, I'm gonna make sure it snaps in place, it's tight and secure. I'm gonna start the vehicle up, I'm gonna allow my air pressure to build up. I want it to build up between 120 and 140 PSI. Once I hear the governor cut out at 120 PSI, I'm gonna turn the vehicle off. I'm gonna turn the key just to the on position, not running, but just to the on position. I'm gonna use my hand to push the parking brake in and my foot to hold the service brake down. I'm gonna hold it down for 1 minute. I'm gonna ask the instructor to time me. I wanna make sure I don't lose no more than 3 pounds of pressure in 1 minute. Once my minute is up, the instructor tells me my time is up, I'm gonna fan the brake. As I fan the brake, my air pressure will drop down. It dropped down to 60 PSI, I should get a warning light and a warning buzzer. Once that warning light and warning buzzer comes on, I'll continue to fan the brake. I'll continue to fan the brake between 20 and 40 PSI, and the parking brake will pop out. Once that parking brake pop out, that indicates that my air brakes are working. At this point, I'm gonna start the vehicle back up. I'm gonna allow my air pressure to build back up. It build up above 60 PSI, that warning light and warning buzzer should go off. I'll continue to build the air pressure back up to the normal operating range, which is between 120 and 140 PSI. That's the air brake test. Now what I'm gonna do is demonstrate everything that I just said to the instructor. First of all, I'm gonna let the instructor know that the rear wheels are chalk. The purpose of the chalk behind the rear wheel is so the vehicle don't roll. Now I'm gonna start the vehicle up. As I start the vehicle up, I'm gonna allow my air pressure to build up. Once again, make sure anytime you're sitting behind the wheel of this vehicle, make sure you have your seatbelt on. Seatbelt on is not cracked or frayed. It snaps in place. Okay? Allow my air pressure to build up. What I'm listening for is the governor cutout that indicates that my air tanks are full. Anytime the air pressure is above 120 psi, you can go ahead and actually perform the air brake test. But some instructors want the air pressure to read at 140 psi when the governor cutout comes on. But in any event, I'm at 120 psi. I'm gonna turn this vehicle off. I'm gonna turn the key just to the on position, not running, but in the on position. I'm gonna use my hand to push the parking brake in, and I'm gonna put my foot firmly on the service brake for 1 minute. Can somebody time me, please? I'm gonna hold my foot firm to the ground for 1 minute. And what I'm looking for, I'm making sure I don't lose no more than 3 pounds of pressure in 1 minute. So once my minute is up, somebody let me know.
Oh, once your minute is up, you start fanning the brake.
Well, okay. I'm just waiting on y'all to let me know my minute is
Oh,
up.
shit. My bad.
It's all good. And what I'm looking at this gauge. I'm gonna keep my foot firm to the ground. Do not lose pressure on that brake pedal, because if you come up on it, you're automatically gonna lose air pressure. Okay, now that my minute is up, I didn't lose no more than 3 pounds of pressure. Now I'm gonna fan the brake. As I fan the brake, the air pressure drops down. It drops down to 60 psi. I'm gonna get this warning light and this warning buzzer that comes on. I'll continue to fan the brake until this parking brake pop out between 20 and 40 psi. Once that parking brake pops out, that indicates the air brakes are working. At this point, I'm gonna start the vehicle back up, and I'm gonna allow the air pressure to build back up. Once it builds up above 60 psi, the warning light and warning buzzer will go off, and I'll continue to build it back up to the normal operating range. Now, while waiting on my air pressure to build up, I'm gonna go ahead and do my inside inspection. I'm gonna start with my side mirror over here. I want to check my flat and convex mirror. I want to make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, and properly adjusted to me. I want to check this windshield. Make sure there's no cracks, damage, any illegal stickers on this windshield. I'll check that mirror over there the same as I check this mirror over here. I'll check these crossover mirrors. I want to make sure they're properly adjusted to me. They're not crack, damage, or any illegal stickers. I'll check my student mirrors. I want to make sure it's not crack, damage. I can see my students and my students can see me. At this point right here, I want to check the dome lights. These 3 switches right here control the dome light. I want to make sure that the interior lights are working. This red switch right here controls the door. I want to make sure that the door opens and closes fairly easy. I want to check my windshield wipers and windshield washer fluid. I want to make sure that that's working correctly. Okay? I want to check my left turn signal. Make sure it's working on the dash. My right turn signal is working on the dash. My 4-way flashers are working on the dash. Turn the front headlights on, pull this back to me, and make sure that the high beams are working on the dash. I come over here, I want to check my heater and defrost. Make sure my heater and defrost is working correctly. At this point right here, I want to check my my caution lights. You turn this master switch on, you push this switch up here, look through the crossover mirrors, and you can see that the caution lights are working. So you explain to the instructor that the caution lights are working. I push this red switch right here. It turns off the caution lights and it activates the stop lights. So I want to make sure I look through the crossover mirrors, make sure that the red stop lights are working correctly, make sure that stop arm is out, make sure that these stop signs on the side are out. And you also want to make sure that this light right here is illuminated. I turn them off, disengage the master switch. At this point, I check my horn, make sure that my horn is working correctly. I want to check my BC fire extinguisher. I want to make sure it's properly mounted and fully charged. I want to check my first aid kit, make sure it's properly mounted and fully stopped. My body fluids kit is properly mounted and fully stopped. My 3 triangle reflectors are tight and secure, properly mounted, and located in that box right there. This vehicle is equipped with circuit breakers. However, if it didn't have circuit breakers, I'll make sure I had at least 3 spare fuses. Okay. I also, while I'm here, I want to check this student monitoring device, which is this camera right here and that camera right there. Make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, and working correctly. Okay. At this point, now I want to check my parking brake test. With the parking brake on, I'm going to put the vehicle down and drive. I'm going to accelerate slightly, make sure the vehicle don't move. I'm going to put it in reverse, accelerate slightly, make sure the vehicle don't move. That indicates that my parking brakes are working. At this point, I want to check the service brake. The proper way of checking the service brake is that I'm going to push the service brake down, push the parking brake in, put it down and drive, make sure it don't move. Put it in reverse, make sure it don't move. Put it back in neutral, pull the parking brake out. That indicates that my service brakes are working. Now the actual way of checking the service brake is that I'll let the vehicle coast at about 5 miles an hour, put my foot on the service brake, make sure the vehicle comes to a complete stop and it don't sway from one side to the other. Okay? At this point, I'm going to turn the vehicle off, take my seatbelt off, and I'm going to walk to the back. Back here is the deactivation switch, and the reason this switch right here is back here is to force the driver to walk to the back to make sure that there's no students left on the bus. So I deactivate the switch right there. While I'm back here, I'll check this student monitoring device the same as I did those up there. I'll check this this exit light right here, make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, and not missing any screws. This is an exit door right here. I push this up and push out. If the vehicle was running or the key was in the ignition, I will get a warning sign. Close it back, latch it back in place. I'll check these seats right here. I'll make sure they're properly mounted to the frame and the frame is properly mounted to the floor. This is my wheelchair lift. I'll make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. Over my head is an emergency exit. I push that up, make sure it's tight and secure. Pull it back down, make sure it's worked correctly. I'll check all these seats here the same as I did that back there. This is also an emergency exit. The proper way of checking that, I'll pull the red handle out, push the window out, pull it back in, latch it back down, make sure it works correctly. I'll check all these emergency exits the same as I did that one. As I walk down the aisle, I'll make sure it's visible and clear, no obstacles or obstructions that could possibly trip a student up. I would inspect this emergency exit the same as I did the one in the rear. The standing line, I want to make sure it's visible and clear and at least 2 inches in diameter. I'll open the door up, walk outside and do an outside inspection. Okay, as I walk out here and start my outside inspection, first of all I want to stand in front of the vehicle and make sure the vehicle is sitting level and not leaning from one side to the other. If it was leaning, it might be an indication I have a flat tire or damaged suspension. I want to look down both sides of the vehicle, make sure there's no obstacles or obstructions on either side of the vehicle. The top of the vehicle. These are my amber clearance lights. I'll make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. My red stop lights are tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. My kids' caution lights are tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. The front windshield, not crack damage, any illegal stickers, and the seal around the windshield is tight and secure. The windshield wiper blades are not worn excessively thin. The windshield wiper arms are tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. I'll check these crossover mirrors, make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, not cracked or damaged. The brackets are tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. The front headlights are visible and clear, tight and secure, properly mounted, and no condensation inside the headlights itself. The stop arm is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. The tag is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. Look on the ground, make sure there's no puddles on the ground indicating anything leaking. I'm going to unlatch the hood on both sides. Unlatch the hood on this side, unlatch the hood on that side. I'm going to pull the hood back. When I pull the hood back, I want to make sure it's sitting level, it's tight and secure, and won't rock back on me. Back behind me, if I can physically see it, is a power steering pump. I'll make sure that power steering pump is tight and secure, properly mounted, and not leaking any fluid. My engine oil, the proper way of checking that is to pull the dipstick out, wipe it clean, stick it back in there, pull it back out, make sure it's above the add mark. The transmission dipstick, the proper way of checking this is with the vehicle running in neutral, pull the dipstick out, wipe it clean, stick it back in there, pull it back out, make sure it's above the add mark. I'll check all these hoses and clamps, make sure everything is tight and secure, properly mounted, and nothing's leaking. Right here, my steering system. I have a steering rod that's tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. The steering box is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts, not leaking any fluids. The hose and couplings are tight and secure, properly mounted, and not leaking. The pitman arm is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. The nut and the carter pin is tight and secure, properly mounted, and not missing any parts. The drag link is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. The knuckle is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. The drag link, the tie rod. The rod that go from one tire to the other is called a tie rod. I make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, and not missing any parts. Now, I just named all the parts, but what I would prefer you to do is to put everything together and stamp it at the end. And what I mean by that is that you call out every part that I just called out, and at the end, you tell the instructor what you're looking for. In this case, I'm gonna check the steering rod, the steering box, the hose and coupling, the pitman arm, the nut and the carter pin, the drag link, knuckle, nut, carter pin, and tie rod. Everything is mounted correctly, tight and secure, and nothing's leaking. I don't necessarily have to go through each individual part and tell you what I'm looking for. Put it all together, stamp it at the end, okay? This frame is tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds, not missing any bolts. The front shock is tight and secure, properly mounted, not leaking any fluids. The leaf springs did not crack, damage, welded, repaired, shifted, or broken. The leaf spring hangers are tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds, not missing any bolts. This U-bolt is tight and secure, properly mounted, tightly holding the leaf springs together. I'll inspect the brake hose, the brake coupling, the brake line. Everything is tight and secure, properly mounted, and nothing's leaking. Make sure you mention anything that carries air or fluid through it. Make sure you tell them it's not leaking. That's the main thing they're listening for, okay? All right, I want to finish up with the brakes. The brake drum is tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds, not missing any bolts. Behind the brake drum, if I can see it, is the brake liner. I'll make sure it's not worn excessively thin, no oil, grease, or condensation on the brake liner, okay? I want to check the tire, make sure it's evenly worn. It should be no less than 4/32 of tread depth. The side of the tire, no cracks, damage, any illegal patches or bubbles on the side of the tire. There's no air leaking from the bead of the tire. The rim, tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds. The lug nuts, no rust spots or shining spots indicating looseness. The valve stem, tight and secure, properly mounted, not leaking any air. I would explain to the instructor that the proper inflation for the tire in the front is 110 PSI. In the back is 90, between 90 and 95 PSI in the back, okay? Walk to the other side of the vehicle. Over here, I want to check my coolant reservoir. I want to make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, make sure it's not leaking, make sure the cap is on tight. Also explain to the instructor you would never open that cap while the engine is hot. Okay? I want to check all the hoses and clamps on this side the same as I did on the other side. I want to check the windshield washer fluid on this side the same as I did on the other side. Make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, and it's not leaking any fluids. On this side, I'll check the frame, suspension, brake, tire, wheel assembly on this side as I did on the other side. And that covers everything we've already talked about, which includes the frame, the leaf springs, the leaf spring hangers, the U-bolt, the shock absorber, the brake hose, the brake line, the brake coupling, the brake drum, the brake liner, the tire, rim, and lug nuts. That covers everything that you already talked about on that side. Over here, I'll check this mirror, the flat mirror and the convex. Flat mirror and convex mirrors, tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. The screws on the brackets are tight and secure, properly mounted. Right here is a clearance light. I'll make sure it's amber in color, it's tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. Check this door, make sure that the door open and close fairly easy, make sure the hinges are not binding, check the glass, make sure it's not crack damage or any illegal stickers. I'll check this turn signal over here, make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any parts. I'll check all this glass, make sure there's no cracks, damage, or any illegal stickers on the glass. Underneath this bus, if I can see it, I'll inspect the drive shaft, the universal joint, and the exhaust. Make sure everything is tight and secure, properly mounted, nothing's leaking. Also inspect the cross members, make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted. Right here is my fuel tank. I'll inspect the cap, the straps, and the hoses. Make sure everything is tight and secure, properly mounted, nothing's leaking. Ready? Shut it back. Latch that in place. Check this reflector, make sure it's clean and visible, tight and secure, properly mounted. Back behind here, if I can physically see it, when you come back here, you cut this bus in half. But if I can see it, I'll inspect that rear frame. Make sure the frame is tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds. The leaf springs are not cracked, damaged, welded, repaired, shifted, or broken. The leaf spring hangers are tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds, not missing any bolts. If I can see the U-bolt, I'll make sure it's tightly holding the leaf springs together. This rear shock is tight and secure, properly mounted, not leaking any fluids. Back behind here is an airbag. I'll inspect that airbag. I'll make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, make sure it's properly inflated. I'll inspect the I'm drawing a blank. I'll come back to it. In any event, if I can see the rear brake assembly, I'll check the brake hose, the brake line, and the brake coupling. Make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, make sure it's not leaking any fluid. I'll also, if I can see the brake drum, I'll make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds. Behind the brake drum, if I can see the brake liner, I'll make sure it's not worn excessively thin, and make sure there's no oil, grease, or condensation on the brake liner. Check the tire, make sure it's evenly worn. It should be no less than 2/30 seconds of tread depth. The side of the tire, there's no cracks, damage, any illegal patches or bubbles on the side of the tire. There's no air leaking from the bead. Check the rim, make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, no illegal welds. Check the lug nuts, make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, no rust spots or shiny spots indicating looseness. Check the valve stem, make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, not leaking any air. And I also have between 90 and 95 psi of inflation in the rear. The wheel guard, make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, not rubbing the ground or rubbing against the tire. Back here is my wheelchair lift. The proper way of operating this, with the vehicle on in neutral, I'll open the door up, activate the switch, pull it out, lift it down, lift it back up, fold it back in, make sure it's tight and secure, and make sure that the door latches properly. Right here is my rear clearance light. It's red in color, tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. This right here is a traffic monitoring device. It's a camera. Make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, and working correctly. The red reflector is tight and secure, properly mounted, clean and visible. Back here. I'll check these red clearance lights, make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. The red stop lights are tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. The caution lights are tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. Check all this glass, make sure it's not cracks, damage, any illegal stickers. I'll check the turn signal, the brake light, the reverse light, the tag light, and the running light, along with this reflector. Make sure everything is tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. I'll check all of these lights on this side the same as I did on that side. Inspect this tag, make sure it's tight and secure, properly mounted, and the stickers are legal and up to date. Check this exhaust, make sure it's tight, secure, properly mounted without excessive carbon soot. On this side, I'll check the reflectors on this side, the same as I did on the other side. I'll check the stop signs, make sure they're tight and secure, properly mounted, not missing any screws. Over here, I'll check the rear frame, suspension, brake, tire, wheel, and mud flap assembly on this side, the same as I did on that side. Inspect this reflector on this side, the same as I did on that side. I'll check the stop sign right here, the same as I did that one back there. I'll check the turn signal over here, the same as I did the one on the other side. Over here is my battery compartment. I'll inspect the post, the cable, and the hold down. Everything is tight and secure, properly mounted without excessive corrosion. Okay. I'll inspect this mirror and mirror bracket on this side, the same as I did on the other side. At this point, I'll shut this hood down. I'll latch the hood on both sides. Now the last thing to inspect is an outside light check. You'll get the instructor to assist you with your outside lights. You'll go in, you'll sit behind the wheel, make sure you put that seatbelt on, start the vehicle up, you're going to check your right turn signal, left turn signal, hazards, high beam, reverse light, brake light, clearance lights, students light, the caution lights, and the stop light. Make sure all your lights are working on the outside. You check them on the inside, but you want to get the instructor to assist you in doing it on the outside. At that point, your pre-trip inspection is never over until you tell the instructor it's over. So you have to tell the instructor that that concludes the pre-trip inspection, because they can't stop you. The only way they can stop you is if you run out of time. Other than that, if you had time, you can go around this whole vehicle all over again if you choose to do so. But you have to tell them that you're done, or they'll just sit there and let the clock run out on you. All right, that's the pre-trip inspection.